Hello, everyone. This is Mesh. Long time. You haven't heard my voice, but here I am. So I'll basically just be talking about things that I think that are important. So that is why I'm doing this voiceover. I recorded this video like how many days ago. Anyways, I added a single vert because I would like to trace this hexagon shape. This is the base of the Fenty Beauty Shimmer Stick. That's what they call it. Hmm. Well, just extruding, matching it up with the reference, and then I'll select marquee these two vertices, and then press F and then A to select everything, and then add a face to everything. Now I am showing the front view. This is what I will use to help me extrude. I think initially I didn't scale it up, so I just ended up extruding and it wasn't even matching up with the reference. Silly me. Yep, exactly. So of course I have to look around and then select everything and then match it up with the reference. Then now I can extrude. It seems like I like to take my time with stuff like this, even though I shouldn't. Honestly, some of the steps that I do I think are necessary, but again, this is a raw video of me modeling. So yeah. I had selected a face and then I inset. Oh, I should have checked the face orientation. Selected everything M to remove any unnecessary vertices that I won't need. And then I'll just go to face select that face, toggle X-ray, and then extrude upwards. Turn on toggle X-ray. Probably don't need it. I don't know what I was doing here. Oh yes. I deleted the face and then I'm adding loop cuts because I want to turn that into a circle. The 6 edges were not enough for the circle, so most likely that's why. Okay, now it's time for me to make faces. When there's no face, this is how you inset. You select the entire edge, E for extrude, and then S for scale, and then you drag the mouse inwards, and that's how you create a face. And then loop tools, circle. I was looking at the reference and I noticed that obviously this bottom piece and that circular area, they're separated. So that means I'll have to select these edges and then extrude downwards. And then still geometry. If you're wondering how to still geometry, Shift D, P, separate by selection. And of course, don't forget to name your parts. And of course, again, always save the file as you go. You could save it as body 02, 001, body 02, 003, something like that. If you want to save it in steps, that's up to you. Slash key to isolate, A to select everything, and then slash key again to get out of isolation mode. And I'm just scaling it. You see that little, I'm not sure you can see it, like, it's a, yeah, there it is. That little lip thing. So I want to keep that circle contained in there. And E, mark it on the Z axis, extruding upwards. And then just G, just grabbing it up. I don't need another extrusion. Turn off toggle X-ray. And of course, I'll have to select that face and inset. But it seems like I'm not sure what I'm trying to do. I guess I'm naming it now. Crazy work. I had recorded this video how many days ago? So I barely remember what I did. I don't know what I was looking for. Okay, I see what I'm doing. So basically, I'm selecting the edges and I will end up beveling it. This is destructive modeling. So once I bevel these edges, I'll select the edges that I need. I will write down the number so I could apply it to the cap later on. And you can see I use C, which is another way to select. And I don't want to affect the circular part. So that's why I'm deselecting. And I'm doing that by pressing down on the middle mouse wheel and then clicking on it. I don't know how people initially record their modeling process and then do a voiceover. It's honestly tedious. But I get it. When you're modeling, you don't have to stop and talk over it or whatever. Maybe it's just me. I just find it very tedious. But yeah, it's now that I'm beveling. Honestly, I think I had froze or something. I paused it because the baby era crying, most likely. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, this is the raw footage, no cuts, no prettiness, just clean cut me rotating around the model to check it. I'm adding a subdivision modifier to see if it's holding up or not. And if it's not, then that means I need to add more supporting loops. When it comes to sub D, keep in mind that you need not sub D, that you need supporting loops. Tongue twister, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I selected that circular area and then I bevel it. This video is literally 50 plus minutes. Like, I don't even know how people do it. I know I'm being very repetitive, but how do people record and then do voiceovers? Like, I'm already tired of recording at this point. Along. So for this part, I deleted the face, but you can see that I ended up using the knife tool to cut faces, which was unnecessary because I ended up deleting the face. Know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I guess it's just like a process thing. If you're still watching at this point, thank you for still watching and listening to me commentary. Not commentary, Lord English. How many comments over this video? Voiceovers. Maybe because those videos that they have on TikTok, they're short videos. So when they're doing voiceovers, it doesn't feel exhausting. This feels exhausting. Anyways, I added a loop cut because I wanted to steal geometry so I could use it for the cat. Yep. Mhm. And then I'm going into edit mode because I don't want to move it in object mode. If I move it in object mode, say for example, I want to bevel, the bevel won't look right. So I always try my best to keep any movement in edit mode. Oh yes, the typical rotating around the model just because. I used to think that was only me that used to rotate around the model, but I've come to realize that I don't live a unique life to some extent. And of course, Shade Smooth add a subdivision modifier. My favorite steps. Looking good. And of course, 2 decades later, I'm renaming it. If I didn't mention, always use Tycho X-ray, especially when you're using references. It helps. I selected the face insets, and then I'll be extruding downwards. And that will create a face, so I'll have to delete that face. You'll see in a second. Yep, I turned it around and deleted the face. The reason why I'm doing this is because if the viewer is not seeing the mesh, there's really no point of having it there. I mean, unless you want to have extra faces that you don't need and you might have problems uploading it to IND or Second Life or any other game that has like a specific poly count. Here you can see I'm selecting the edges and then beveling it to smooth it out. And I had wrote down the numbers that I did for the previous circle, so that's the number I'm putting in the width. Of course, subdivision, shade smooth. But I did see some weird shading. So that means I'm going to add a loop cut and then control B, just two edges and then drag my mouse outwards and then it should create like a extra support loop. Yep, just like that. Shade smooth. Here I'm selecting everything because I want to scale it outwards just a little bit. In the reference, I saw that there was like a little gap between the circular shape and the base of the shimmer stick. That was too much of a gap, so I scaled it out a bit. That looks decent. I don't know why I'm scaling it in again, but it is what it is. Now it looks like I'm going to model the actual rounded bug thing. So I added the round cube. I already had mine set up, but just for demonstration's sake, I go to operator presets, quad sphere, and then change the division's arc to 4. And of course, the quad sphere, I don't need the bottom of it, so I just marquee and delete. Again, when you have a reference, you scale it down to match up with the reference and make sure that it's matching up. So I noticed that my model was a little bit bigger than the reference, so I only used it just to match it up. But then I had to adjust it to my base model because that's what I'm using and it's not 100% matching the reference size, but that's okay. Because at the end of the day, doesn't it look like the reference? Oh, yes. I forgot to mention proportional editing. So basically, it influences parts that you need to move. The middle mouse wheel, once you move it, you have more or less influence. Yep, there it is. Shade smooth, subdivision modifier, looking pretty slick. I may be very repetitive, but always make sure to look at the reference. Don't assume that you see what's there. You know, I'm basically just telling you what my art teacher told me a long time ago. I was like, Yeah, that was middle school. Now onto the bottom side, I opened the bottom reference and I'm going to the bottom and I'm matching it up with the reference. Now that I think about something, when I'm looking at this reference right here with this lady holding it up, we should be thankful for people for taking review pictures. Because honestly, if you don't have a product, you want to model something, when you have these references, it's like, yo, thank you. I appreciate it. But here I noticed that, like I said earlier, my mesh was not matching the reference size wise. So I kind of had to like eyeball it. So I kept on like playing with the width of that lip. Not sure what I was doing here, but it seems like I was trying to figure something out. But I know that I will have to extrude upwards. This is the bottom of the base, the shimmer stick. So I extrude upwards. And then I steal geometry for the other piece. Select everything, face. No, I have something to work with. Remember, when you have a face, you press I to inset. And then this is a circle. So that means I'll be using loop tools. So basically what I did there was I selected that circular part and then extruded upwards because it has like a little indentation the bottom. If you look at the reference, the actual reference, you would see that. And then I added the subdivision modifier, see how it works. But again, the subdivision modifier always smooths it out so it looks like a circle. So that means I need to add reinforcing edges. Something is off. I beveled that edge and add a subdivision, but again, the subdivision smooths it out. So I think I ended up just selecting that area and sharp edging it. Yep, here you see I selected it and then Shift E. Yep, just showing you how it's working. So sometimes you don't even have to bevel it. But if it's having a lot of artifacts, then I prefer you just bevel it or do some other editing to it. Now on the bottom piece, I will select the edge and then extrude it upwards. And remember, if you want to like mess around with the edges, make sure you select on edge select. If you're doing faces, select face, vertices, vertex, select the vertex select. So here I noticed that I was selecting the edges so I could add reinforcing edges, but I'm not supposed to select the edge that's going closer to the circle. So that means I will add a loop cut in the center. You see, I'm going to see how it's like messing up with the circle. I didn't want that. So that's why I added a loop cut to separate the outer edge from the middle edge. Or should I be more clear? The circle edges? Yeah. Middle mouse wheel, I think, to deselect and click Control R to add that loop cut. See, now I'm selecting those edges and it's nowhere near the circle. I guess you could say it's like a protective barrier. You already know what I'm going to do next. Here we go. That looks decent. And I noticed that I selected the bottom edges and I shift E. I don't know why. I don't think it was necessary because there's no face there. So, but I still did it. Shade smooth. Now, of course, you know I have to mess around with that inner circle. I'm going to turn off subdivision so I could see it clearly. And then inset, and then I'll delete that face, and then I'll add grid fill. And then I'll make sure that the grid fill, the turns or whatever you call it, the spans will line up with the middle vertices. Okay, so here I noticed that I could make a quad. So I used the knife tool and then dissolve those edges in the middle. And then same steps over and over again. I guess that's how you get better or something. But then what happens when you're just cramming? Anyways, I'm going on a tangent. But yeah, I just dissolve it. If you go to vertex mode, you will see that these two edges that I'm adding, and after I dissolve those middle edges, you'll see that it's all four vertices. So it's a quad, even though it looks like a triangle. So this is a very long video. So I will stop doing voiceovers at this point. Just watch, and if you're stuck, you could always rewind this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And you could give me suggestions in the comment section. I will see if I could do that if I have time, because time is luxury. Take care.